I grew up with my mother and my grandparents. My parents were divorced when I was under 1. So it's pretty normal if your parents is divorced, then you don't get to see your other side of your parent ever. So that was the case for me. So I grew up without seeing my father, not knowing, I know who he is, but I never had a really encounter or interaction with him. So that part of my life was a little unusual, I would say, but nevertheless, I had a really great, loving family. I went to a private school from kindergarten all the way to university. So luckily, I never had to experience the horror of the entrance exam stress and the pressure a lot of the Japanese students will feel. So I grew up with full of access to arts and music because that's something that my mother really liked, and I really excelled in music. So I was trained as a classical violinist and started learning my instruments when I was 5. 9th or 10th grade, I saw musical. That was a Japanese musical version, but it's a musical called Hair. So, but it was a little bit toned down to make it a little bit culturally relevant. But I thought that was a really great form of art because it uses music that I love. But also a theater piece, the text piece, has a lot of social message in it. So to be able to deliver a message, the social message, which was anti-war for that particular musical, but to also all kinds of different artistic venues, I thought that was a wonderful way to do it. So that's something that I really wanted to study more. I made a deal with my family that, okay, I'm going to go through this path, but after I'm done with my college, I get to make my own decisions about which grad school I want to go. So that's when I put my eye on going to the grad school in the US to study theater. Being in Japan and being Japanese mean you are part of the majority. And there is, although there are some diversities in Japan, you are in a position of power being Japanese in Japan. That is not the case in the United States. One thing that took me a while to realize that I had to navigate through was the racism, which I wasn't really prepared for the first time. And it took me a while to figure it out. That's what was going on, and that's something that I had to navigate. So I said, okay, I gave up my position being part of the majority culture in Japan. I really had to learn what it means to be a foreigner, what it means to be a woman of color, what it means to be a part of minority in American culture, because you're not lining up with the same starting point with my white colleagues. You know, you are already in deficit. You're not speaking English correctly, or especially in theater, if you're speaking as an accent, that's a huge deficit when you're doing acting. Also, the way I look, meaning that being Japanese, being foreigner, would pigeonhole me into only available for a certain role in theater. They would never consider myself for a role which is typically cast for white women. I really knew in order for me to stay in the profession of theater, I just have to find the right place where they can see me as an asset. The work that I get involved in theater is about social justice, and I work with a lot of children who are immigrants and who are students of color, or kids who don't see themselves as part of the power structure in this society. I work with them using theater to really validate their voices or empower them so that they can believe, you know, you also have a voice in this society and you have a power to shape your own narrative, because they are getting used to see their narrative shaped by the others and told by the others. And you don't have to do that, right? But you know, when you don't see yourself as part of the power structure, flipping TV or whatever, it's hard to believe that.